Good day, everyone. We are now back in our lecture series on human rights-based education for criminology students, and in particular, we are going to discuss now human rights-based search and seizures. Searching a particular object that is subject of crime or object of crime, and seizing that particular object. Either it's a contraband or it's an illegal object or it has been used in a particular crime. So let's go go to our discussion on search and seizure with warrant. So with search warrant. So it is search and seizure in general, as a general rule, it is allowed and legal when covered by a valid search warrant. That's the general rule. Nobody, no police officer, no law enforcement officer can conduct search without a valid warrant. But there are exemptions to this general rule, and we'll discuss it later. So search warrant to be used only during daytime, except when it is stated in the search warrant that it can be used during daytime or nighttime. Then officers must be in proper or complete uniform with nameplate and or ID card. So this is search and seizure with warrant. So no law enforcement officer should conduct search and seizure with warrant without a complete uniform. So steps. The officers must first identify themselves. Ma'am, sir, I am a police officer, or it depends on the dialect. We are police officers from this unit. So show the search warrant to the occupant of the house, to the owner of the house, or the owner of the property to be seized and searched, or any occupant in the house. Explain the purpose and legality of the said operation, search operation, and the owner or occupant must accompany. So this is very important. So while conducting search, the owner or the occupant must accompany. So while searching, the police officer must be accompanied by the owner or occupant of the house. The police officer cannot go alone in searching. Otherwise, there will be doubt on the credibility of the evidence, and the evidence will not be accepted or could not be accepted in court. So your effort might be wasted because of not following this regulation. And if the owner or occupant is absent, so what if the owner or occupant is absent or the suspect is absent? Can you still conduct the search even if no occupant in the house? The house is closed. Yes, you can conduct. You must invite at least two independent witnesses of legal age, at least 18 years old, and a resident in the locality or near the house or the house to be searched, and they must accompany you during the search. Then present an official receipt for all items taken or seized to the owner or occupant or to the two witnesses. Then what are the instances of search without warrant? So the officers can search and seize without warrant when there are illegal items. The illegal items or contraband are in plain view. In our previous video, we started to discuss about the plain view doctrine. What does it say? So it says that if the law enforcer has a reason to be in that place, in the house, and while in the house, inside the sala, for example, he sees marijuana plants inside the sala. It's open to his eyes, open to his hands, so he can seize those marijuana. Those are illegal items. Or if the officer sees firearms, so he has the reason to search the firearm and investigate whether the firearm is licensed and so on and so forth. So that's the plain view doctrine. So he has the reason to be in that place, the legal reason to be inside the house, no? But he cannot surreptitiously enter the house without authority, without the search warrant. So if he does that, upon entering the house illegally or surreptitiously without authority, open the door, then go inside the house, and he sees the marijuana, and the marijuana can be confiscated, but the marijuana cannot be used in court because his entrance to the house, his presence inside the house is not authorized. So he must first be authorized to enter into the said place, to be in that place, and he sees the illegal object, and it is apparent to him that that object is marijuana or illegal or a contraband, then the plain view search is valid. The next exemption to the search and seizure without warrant is search incidental to lawful arrest. So if you have arrested a person for a particular crime, then you can conduct an extensive search on his person. You can search the body for any contraband. So what if the person has a bag and the bag is on the side of the person? Can you search the bag? Yes, because it is within the reach of the person. So there might be a weapon inside the bag or any other contraband that he could use or other weapon that he could use inside the bag. So you can search the bag and seize any weapon inside the bag. What if the offender is inside his room? Then there's a warrant of arrest against him. Then you serve the warrant of arrest. Then you arrested the person inside his room. Then there are cabinets in the room. Then upon arrest, you open the cabinets in the room, the upper cabinets. Then you found firearms in the cabinets. Can you use those firearms, unlicensed firearms, for example, as evidence against him, or illegal drugs against him? The answer is no, because they are beyond the reach of the person. So it's beyond the reach, and especially if the cabinets are locked, then you forcibly open it, then because you have just arrested the person. So that's not within the immediate reach of the suspect. So you only search the things that are immediate to the reach of the person. So for example, again, in my previous example, in search incidental to lawful arrest, you can arrest and search his body. Then, but remember, only female officers shall search female offenders, the minors, and those disabled and other minority groups. Then you can also search the belongings of the offender as long as they are within the reach. No? Unlike in my previous example of the cabinet that is beyond the reach and is also locked, so you have no right to search those places. Another example, if you arrest the person outside the house, you cannot search inside the house. So you just search the person, the body of the suspect. You cannot get inside the house then search the whole house. You arrested the person outside the house. Next, search of a moving vehicle. This in our example, in our discussion in checkpoints. So even if without a warrant, you can conduct visual search of the vehicle. Visual search only, if there is a tip information or it is a normal routine checkpoint, you can conduct visual search. You can look inside the vehicle. You can use your flashlight, but you cannot ask the person to alight the vehicle or to go out from the vehicle or to open the trunk, to open the windows of the vehicle. You have no authority to do that. They have the right to refuse. They have even the right to refuse to answer questions. However, if you have probable cause, not only the tip information, so if the person, for example, is acting suspiciously, then you have seen some apparently illegal objects that appears to be, for example, marijuana, that appears to be firearms on the front seat, that appears to be shabu or methamphetamine on the seats. You have seen them with your eyes, with your eyesight. Then you have now the probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. So you can ask the person to get out and conduct an extensive search. So another example, if upon the visual search you have seen drops of blood, you have seen drops of blood on the carpet of the vehicle, you have seen drippings of blood from the vehicle, from the trunk, so you can conduct extensive search because there might be victims inside, or the offender might have committed a crime prior to that, immediately prior to that. So you can conduct extensive search because you have now the probable cause. But based on tip information, so you are limited to limited search. So a visual search. Next, consented warrantless search. So there's also another exemption to the rule that there must be warrant of arrest, search warrant, I mean, is the consented search. If the person consents that he will be searched, for example, in airports, waterports, Then the person subjects his bag in the x-ray. Then if you are a police officer on duty there, so you can conduct a search. That is consented search. But there is a question. What if you're conducting patrol, then you have seen a person who appeared to be drunk. Then you ask the person, the person is carrying a bag. Then the person sees you conducting patrol with your firearms. Then the person, you ask the person for the bag, and you ask him to open it. He opened it. Is that a consent? Valid consent? The answer is no. That is not valid consent. So because he might have been just been intimidated by you, by your presence. So that's not consent. Even if he was the one who opened the bag, he could have been intimidated by your presence. So that's not a categorical consent that he subjected himself for the search. So even if he opens the bag and he gives you the bag and there are lots of drugs there, you cannot use those drugs against him unless if he consents it. For example, if you stop the person, he appears to be drunk, then you ask the person, what is the problem with you, who are you, and so on and so forth. Then he confesses that he has drugs in his possession. He confesses that he has drugs in his possession, and he really volunteers that he has a drug, and so on and so forth. And then he opens it by himself. Then that's a consented search. Next, customs search. In customs, without even if our Bureau of Customs, even if they have no search warrant, they can search. They can search the vans that passes through the customs. Next, stop and frisk. So earlier we discussed about, in our previous video, we discussed about patrols. So if you are conducting a patrol and conducting surveillance, for example, there have been reports. Example, there have been reports that there have been drug dealing or drug trafficking inside a cemetery in your place, a cementerio. Then there have been drug dealing inside a cemetery. Then you conduct surveillance there. Then you see a person there, two persons just buying and selling, appears to be buying and selling. Other one person buying something, other one is selling something. Then you approach these two persons. Then you ask them what they are doing. Then they appear to be drunk, for example, or they appear to be suspicious. Then after questioning, after letting them know that you are police officers, then they run after that. And then you have now your probable cause to arrest and search those persons. That's what we call stop and freeze. In a very suspicious place, a place that is known to have been a hotspot of crime, then you have been conducting surveillance there. Then you have seen two persons. You approach them. Then you ask them. You have seen something in a close range. You have seen something, and then you ask him about it. Then that person or those persons run. After that, you flee. They flee. So that's if you stop, then they freeze and they search him and confiscated the drugs. So that's valid. So here's one question. What if you are conducting patrol, then you have seen from 30 feet or 30 meters two persons that appears to be buying and selling. Then you approach them, then they run away. Is that they have, upon seeing you from 30 meters, they run away? Can you use the drugs if ever there are, after stopping them and frisking them, and you use that as evidence against them? The answer is no, because there's no probable cause. Running away is just one of the suspicious acts of the person, and running away can be interpreted in another way. So what if he's just afraid? They're just afraid of a police officer. So it's just one circumstance. There must be other circumstances aside from that. So this was, I said earlier, aside from running, the place has been reported to be a spot of a drug den, for example, then you are conducting surveillance there, then you approach, then you tell them who you are as police officer, then after informing them that you are police officers, then they run. So you have many reasons aside from running. Another example is, for example, you are on board a bus. You are on board a bus, then a person immediately runs or alights from the bus, runs away from the bus. Is that a reason to arrest the person and search him extensively? The answer is no, because running away is just one of the acts, just one of the reasons. It's not enough to conclude, to have a probable cause to believe that he has committed a crime. So there must be other reasons. Next, exigent and emergency circumstances. So one example of this is during coup d'etat, or during coup d'etat or rebellion, or during coup d'etat or rebellion where the courts are closed, where there's there's a deep information, there are a lot of firearms in a particular house, then there are no courts, there are no prosecutors, so you do not have, then that house contains a lot of firearms and there are many rebels there, so you can conduct search based on exigent and emergency circumstances. So that's it. That's human rights based search, and the next discussion is on human rights based arrests.